Media.
Why are you spending your time doing the things that you're doing on a day-to-day basis? And are those things bringing you more fulfillment, bringing you more joy, bringing you more happiness? Hi, my name is Ronnie Cruz. After almost 2 decades as a career network marketer, I realized that despite continual work on my personal and professional development, that I had hit a massive brick wall. So I took a deep and honest look at myself, top to bottom, hoping to find answers. And my search led me to one conclusion. The definitions I held of my business, of my world, of my life were the very things holding me back. If I wanted to change, if I wanted to grow beyond my current circumstances, I had to wipe the slate clean and redefine. This show is dedicated to helping you identify the belief systems, the mindsets, the very definitions that have held you back, and then help you break through those limitations to finally create the life you've been working so hard to achieve. Welcome to the Redefine Podcast. All right. Happy Thursday and happy podcast day to you. Welcome to the show if you are brand new. And of course, if you're an existing listener, welcome back. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning in. Before we get into the meat and potatoes of today's episode, I want to set the record straight from last episode. My sister was getting on my case about it because I referenced her in the episode, and I forget sometimes that she actually listens to the show. She is one of 3 listeners of the Redefine podcast. So I wanted to set the record straight. She was messaging me earlier today, and she said, I don't get annoyed at how people use their garages, which is true. She gets annoyed at the fact that often people park in front of our house, and so we lose that street space in front of the house, which, yes, it can be annoying, especially for me driving a pickup truck. It can be hard to just back in and out of the driveway. So yes, set the record straight. She does not get annoyed at how people use their garages. Now, for the episode itself, on Tuesday's episode, the main point, the message that I really wanted to convey is that we never really know why people do what they do, whether it's, parking their car in their garage or not, or it's how they post on the internet. We never know why they do what they do. And so there is no reason then to make any negative judgments about it. Right? Because what's the point? Reserve judgment, because otherwise you're just creating a bad experience for yourself, and you're letting it take up all that mental real estate, and you're letting it take up your time. Nobody's got time for that, right? Right? Time is the thing that we have a limited amount of, and there is an expiration date. So why spend it weaving a story in your head that detracts from your joy and your happiness, right? Nobody's got time for it, right? Nobody's got time for it. So today's episode, I actually want to expand on that, or at least continue on that track and talk about time and how you use it, right? Again, as I said earlier, we have no idea why people do what they do. And so I want, by the end of this conversation, hopefully for you to ask yourself, or to be more aware of why you do what you do, right? Why are you spending your time doing the things that you're doing on a day-to-day basis? And are those things bringing you more fulfillment, bringing you more joy, bringing you more happiness? Those are for me, at least, the 3 criteria that I do my best to try to live by in terms of how I spend my time and the activities and the things that I do in that time. Right. Of course, it's, I'm not batting at 1,000, but at least I have that standard to hold myself to, so that I don't squander that limited resource that we have, right? That limited time that we have. So for today's conversation and this particular topic, I'm going to talk about it in 2 different contexts: the context of the entrepreneurs and the context of the employees. No judgments on either one of those, but there are 2 different differing mindsets. But in both of those contexts, there is a through line of talking about profitability, right? Talking about things that doing things that will create more income for you and for your household. Let's start with the entrepreneurs. Of course, entrepreneurs is yeah. Well, we do what we do to make money, right? Right. That would seem the logical answer. If we're not doing it for our bottom line, then why the heck are we doing it? This might sound counterintuitive, but there has to be more than that, right? It can't just be about making money if you're an entrepreneur. Let me explain. If you look at somebody like the ultra successful, right? Like your Bill Gates, he was driven by wanting to create a language and a software so that everybody can use computers, right? So that you didn't have to know code or whatever to use a computer. And then somebody like Steve Jobs, he actually wanted to have a computer in every household. Or I might be flipping it around, but same, almost the same thing, right? One or the other. One of those guys wanted to do one of those things, one or the other. So to me, I think they were driven so much more than just for profit. I think they were driven by impact or to make impact in the world, right? And the profit was just an extension of that. Yes, they are incredibly successful. Their companies will go down in history as some of the most successful companies of our time. But I think it's because they led with a drive and a motivation that was so much more than just the bottom line, right? Just the bottom line. So then you might be asking, well, if it's not about business, then how do you explain somebody like Alex Hormozi, for example? If you don't know Alex Hormozi, you can look him up. I think most of my listeners already know who he is, but he's an incredible entrepreneur. He's a very driven individual. He's got work ethic like none other. Like he hustles. like for me, it's borderline workaholic, right? Right. Well, it's because I'm lazy, so I reserve judgment. Yeah, this is a guy that just outworks his mantra. I mean, I don't know if it's his mantra or not, but like he seems to just operate under the mantra of "I will outwork anybody," and he seems to do that. Uh, on the surface, it might look like yes, he is driven by profit, and he stated as much that he wants to become a billionaire. And again, you might be asking, well, if that doesn't scream motivation for money, then what does? Well, I would argue that there is more than just the money for Alex Hormozy. I think Alex is driven more by the pursuit of excellence. I think Alex is driven more by the challenge and stepping up to the challenge and growing as a result of the challenge, right? He's really all about becoming his best self, that pursuit of excellence. He's all about embracing the journey more than the finish line, right? More than the actual outcome. And as a result, the byproduct, of course, is that his business is growing, and I'm sure he will very soon become a billionaire. But the money itself, the bottom line, isn't the goal, isn't the thing that drives him. Well, it is the goal, but it's not the thing that drives him. The thing that drives him is again that pursuit of excellence and that challenge, and who can he become, right? And stretching himself. So with these ultra successful individuals, you see that it's not just about the money as an entrepreneur, it's what drives you to do what you do. So again, asking yourself, why am I doing this thing? Is it just for the money? The danger especially in today's world where there's an infinite ways to make money, the danger in just chasing the money is that there's a million things and infinite ways to make money. And if you're not driven, if you're not focused, if there's not something else that's driving you to chase a particular avenue to make money, then what ends up happening, and I've seen this time and time again, is that people end up taking on a million different things and not really make, because they can make money in these things, but not really making that much money in those things because they don't have a passion behind it, right? You never know. Did you ever know a person that, that has this side project and has this side business and then does, t-shirt printing on the side, and he's joined this network marketing and he's selling this out of the trunk of his car. You know what I mean? Like that's a case in point that an individual is only driven by making the money, but doesn't have any passion or isn't driven by to deeply pursue or expand in the things that he's trying to make money in. right? Nothing in those individual things are really pushing him to, or pushing them to take it to that Alex Hormozi level, or that Bill Gates level, right? Right. So there's got to be something more than just the pursuit of money, because it's empty at the end of the day, and you're not gonna drive yourself, you're not gonna push yourself to actually make the kind of money you set out to make as an entrepreneur, if you're not if you don't have a deeper push, or a deeper drive, or a deeper reason why you're chasing that particular avenue of entrepreneurism. For me, I love network marketing. I love affiliate marketing. And I love especially teaching people how to do these things, because again, like, that's what drives me. I love helping people achieve levels of success that they may not have known of. I love helping open people's eyes to possibilities. These are the things that get me in front of this microphone twice a week, right, to record this podcast, even though there's no profitability yet. Now, do I think it's going to end up being profitable in the long run? Absolutely, because I'm driven by more than just the profitability of it, right? I'll keep doing this, and as a result, I'll keep getting better at it. As a result, the 10,000 hours. I was about to say 1,000. The 10,000 hours will kick in, and eventually it'll start to pick up steam and momentum, where then I can turn that into profitability in some way, shape, or form. All right, but there's more driving me than just trying to make money. Otherwise, I would have quit long time ago. I mean, there's over 300 episodes in this show. You would think that by now, after 300 plus episodes, that I would quit because I'm not making any money. But yet I still do this. Now, this brings me to the next part of the conversation of people who are not entrepreneurs, people who do have careers, or 9 to 5s, or working for somebody else, right? The individuals that do have jobs. What I've noticed in a lot of the conversations I've had with people that aren't in the entrepreneurism world, is that they don't generally want to put any extra effort outside of their work situation, their job, that's not going to necessarily bring in extra income, right? And here's what I mean. All that work and effort and time you spend in your job, the last thing you want to do is do more work outside of your job, because that's your personal time, right? You're giving all your time to another company, and they pay you for that, the effort that you put in that time. And so in your own time, you just want to do what you want to do, right? And sure, there might be ways to create extra income in that time, but most people, unless they need to, would rather not work for anybody else. But at the same time, a lot of people will also not want to put in any effort and time into pursuits unless they believe in the back of their heads that will create more income for their household. Again, podcast, for example. I have a friend who is a creative, and this individual, he loves to write, and he loves to make stories. He loves to tell stories. And we're always throwing around ideas, and he's like, well, you just make a podcast, or start a YouTube channel, or do something, right? Do something to have an outlet for all this creativity. And he's like, well, like, all that time, all that effort and work that it takes to put on this show and to do a YouTube and all this production, and then for it to not make any money, like, because it's so saturated, or like, it just takes so much time and effort, and you never know if it's going to do well, or et cetera, et cetera. All these reasons of why it won't be successful, and the success is equated to whether or not it could be profitable, right? And that it could add to the income of the household. Then why even do it, right? That's the logic. If I'm going to spend all this time, effort, and energy into doing something like a podcast, for example, and it's not profitable, then why do it in the first place? Again, I guess the mindset is, I spend all this time working already, at my job. Last thing I want to do is spend time and spend my own time working for something that's not going to produce income. Yes, I understand that. But again, you have to be driven by more than just income, more than just making money, because outside of your job, then what are you, all the other things that you're doing outside of your job, are those money making activities? Right, right? Or are you just checking out, which is fine? Like, I check out myself, right? Like, I completely veg out to Netflix when I'm done with the things that I've wanted to do, when I felt like am fulfilled in my day, and I'm ready to just kind of turn my brain off. Of course, I'll sit in front of Netflix or Disney, right? The Acolyte just came out. But most people aren't. Well, I'm an entrepreneur, so most people aren't driven that way. Most people are outside of their 9 to 5, outside of their work situation, are driven by distraction and yeah, just checking out, right? So the logic doesn't really logic there, because everything that you're doing outside of your 9 to 5 isn't making you any money. So why are you doing it, right? You question why you would do something like a passion project, like a podcast, or pursuing a hobby, and not doing it because it's just a waste of time, because you can't make money in there. Then why do you do anything else? And the reality of it is, like I said earlier, from the entrepreneur standpoint, you can actually turn any passion and any hobby into a money making venture, even if it's just a part-time income. But you just have to be driven by more than just the income, right? To do it enough to start being able to make money. I mean, with social media, you can carve out any niche that you want. I see people that are really have a passion for crochet, and that have created huge accounts, just as a result of loving what they do and showing other people what they do, and posting it. Not that they're necessarily driven by money or profitability, but they just have a passion for crocheting, and they're sharing that passion with other people. So again, it's, what are you doing with your time? What are you doing with your time? And I make no judgments. Again, I don't know what you're doing with your time, but it goes to the beginning question: is what you're doing at any given moment in the day bringing you more fulfillment, bringing you more joy, bringing you more happiness? Because if it's not, whether it makes you money or it doesn't make you money, if it doesn't bring you those three things, then you have to really question it. If you have those three things, then you can make money if you want, but you don't have to, right? You don't have to. Like, you have the option for the bottom line and for profitability if you want it. But at the very least, again, it's so much more than that, because the fulfillment, happiness, and joy, well, yeah, that has so many more benefits than just a dollar bill, and it has so much more benefits than squandering away your time on distraction and escapism, right? Not to say, again, that Netflix, if that's what you find fulfillment in, great. I mean, I love Star Wars, so I'll sit there and stare at Star Wars as an escape, but also for my other podcast, Path of the Jedi, which I will be reviving very soon. You know what I mean? And because I love Star Wars, right? And I find joy and happiness in Star Wars, and I love sharing my reflections on personal development. It's a personal development podcast. If you didn't know, Path of the Jedi is Star Wars meets personal development, two of my passions. And no, it is not profitable, and it hasn't made money, and I haven't recorded an episode in over a year, but I want to get back into it because I love it. I love both of those things, and I want to share that passion with people. And it brings me, again, fulfillment, more joy, more happiness, right? So why do you do what you do? Ask yourself that. Ask yourself that. Is it bringing any of those three in? And if it's not, then I really want you to question that. Of course, there are some things that we do out of necessity. For those of you who are employees and who have job situations, those, for some people, that might not be a fulfilling thing, and you do it because it brings income, which then can translate to more fulfillment by keeping a roof over your head, keeping your family fed, giving your family the things that they want, right? So there's levels. There's definitely levels to this, but I think my main point is, I really want you to be mindful of how you're spending the time that you have, and whether or not it is bringing you those three things, right? Because if it's not, then I don't know. It's like the example from Tuesday's episode. Why expend that mental bandwidth and then that energy and time, because it's eventually going to run out, right? It's eventually going to run out. So, I don't mean for this talk to be somber, but I think a lot of people could use a wake up call, right? Could use a wake up call and remind yourself that, hey, clock's ticking. Let's go out and live, right? Let's go out and live. So that's my message. That's my message for today. Hopefully that resonates with you. If it did, leave me a comment in the comment section below on the YouTube. If you're listening to this on the podcast, leave me a review and let me know what you think. Leave me a rating and let me know what you think. But either way, go ahead and subscribe to the show. Hit that follow on the podcast version. And that hopefully this gives you something to ponder over the weekend. So have a great rest of your week. We will catch you on Tuesday with a fresh new one. So until then, be well, be safe. We'll see you in the next episode.